The All Blacks and Ireland have both released their teams for their upcoming Nations Championship game. The round 3 of the Nations Championship already. It's been flying by, but this definitely is the biggest game from the Nations Championship. Yes, we've had France versus the All Blacks. We've had France versus Australia, Ireland versus Australia, Springboks versus England, Springboks versus Scotland. But New Zealand versus Ireland is by far the biggest game. This is going to be an absolutely epic game on Saturday morning, Saturday night for All Blacks fans. Both teams have been selected, both teams at full strength, some really interesting selections as well. We're going to go over all of that in this video, but before we do, if you do enjoy the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe to help the channel grow. I really do appreciate all the support. We're trying to go for 10,000 subscribers now. We've just surpassed 3,000 and I really do appreciate all the support. I've been trying to respond to all the comments. There's been some incredible comments and I really do appreciate some of the feedback as well. So let's get right into it. So from the last 5 games these guys have played against each other, the All Blacks have won 3 and Ireland's won 2. I'd say probably if you go back 2 years, it was the other way around where Ireland kind of were getting the better of the All Blacks. The All Blacks are slowly starting to get kind of the winning percentage back against Ireland. But that being said, this just shows how close it is. The average points scored throughout those 5 games, 22 points for the All Blacks and 21 for Ireland. Only 1 point in it, and I think this weekend's going to be just like that as well. There's been a massive rivalry between these two countries now for the last few years, since that 2016 game in Chicago as well, that first win for Ireland. Since then, these All Blacks vs Ireland games have been a highlight of the international calendar. They've been some of the best games you can ever think of. I mean, just thinking back to it, we have that one there in Chicago, we have Ireland beating the All Blacks in New Zealand, we have New Zealand beating Ireland in Chicago last year as well, a bit of a revenge game, and of course we have the 2023 World Cup quarterfinal, one of the best quarterfinal matches I've ever seen. I thought it couldn't get surpassed until the Springboks and France played the next day, but those 2 games there looked more like 2 semi-finals than they do like quarterfinals, so that just shows the quality of both of these teams. It's going to be a very interesting game. But now talking about the form of both of these teams throughout their last 5 games, Ireland have won 5 from 5, beating England, beating Wales, beating Scotland, beating Australia and beating Japan. So they're doing well, 5 from 5. They're in a much better place right now than they were last year for that Chicago game. They're in a much better place right now. I think last year that time there was a few injuries, a few players that had zero experience. And now looking on nearly a year on from then, about a year, less than a year, but about 8 months from that point, Ireland looked like a much better team. Players with a lot more experience. Players are now back from injury, much more healthy as well. The team looks a lot better. And for the All Blacks, their last 5 games, they've won 4 from their last 5. Beating Scotland, losing to England at Twickenham, they want to forget about that one. Beating Wales, beating France and beating Italy. But it has to be said for both of these teams, they haven't been playing at their absolute best over the last, I'd say, 3 games they've played. I think maybe for Ireland, that Scotland game was really good, but against the Wallabies, weren't at their best. Against Japan, a much changed team, but weren't at their best. For the All Blacks as well, against France, a very good France team, some very good play in periods, kind of periodically throughout the game, scattered throughout the 80 minutes, but they haven't put down an 80-minute performance yet. But I think that might change this week, and I think they're going to have to. But the thing I love the most about these types of games is I have no idea who's going to win this game, and I have no idea who's supposed to be the favorite either. But we'll go through some of the lineups here, then we'll talk about it as well. Starting off with the All Blacks lineup. Number 1, Ethan de Groot, Cody Taylor, Tyrell Lomax make up the front row. The locks are Josh Lord and Patrick Tuipulotu, so a change there with Tuipulotu coming in. Number 6, Tupou Vaa'i, so a very brave selection there, trying to kind of bolster the size of the forward pack for the All Blacks, trying to be a bit more better at line-out time. They know there's guys like a Tide Burn, a McCarthy and a James Ryan that really want to put the All Blacks under pressure at set piece time. Number 7, Luke Jacobson, good to see him there for a 3rd game in the row. And number 8, Ardie Savea, and captain, of course he was going to play. He is one of the most important players for the All Blacks and getting a lot better in that captain role as well. It's good to see him where he can kind of play for 3 games, and if the All Blacks do get 3 wins, then maybe they might be onto something and they'll be filled with confidence for the greatest rivalry series. Number 9, Cam Roigard. Number 10, Ruben Love. So keeping the 9-10 combination together, I think that is the right idea there. I see a lot of hate online for Ruben Love saying he's not yet kind of test match quality. Nobody's going to be test match quality in their first game as a fly for their first few games. They need to kind of build it up. They need experience. But if Ruben Love does have his best game this weekend, it could be a long day in the office for Ireland. And just that partnership with Cam Roigard, they've built it so well throughout Super Rugby that it's going to be very interesting if they can continue to play together going forward. Looking at the centres, Geordie Barrett and Quinn Tupaia makes a comeback. Really good to see. These are the 2 best centres for the All Blacks by far. Jordie Barrett had an incredible Super Rugby season. He's been awesome in the last few games as well, really getting stuck in. Maybe not seeing too many highlight plays from him, but I think that's better. It's much better to do that because Jordie Barrett is one of those guys, he gets his head stuck in, he does the unseen hard work really well. Then Quinn Tupaia. Billy Proctor was okay last week, not really good at all in my opinion. He was just okay. Quinn Tupaia, a much better player for the All Blacks. And these two guys, Barrett and Quinn Tupaia, both of these guys are in the form of their lives right now. So that's going to be very interesting up against a pretty solid centre combination from Ireland as well. Looking at the wings, Josh Morby gets a start at number 11. I am so happy to see this. He was awesome in the Super Rugby, and he's one of those guys. He doesn't look it, but this guy's quick, he's rapid, he can beat defenders for fun, and this guy is a problem when he plays against your team. So I'm very excited to see Josh Morby in the number 11 jersey. He reminds me of like a Conrad Smith or some of those guys from back in the day that they don't look like great rugby players when you see them off the field, but on the field they will tear you apart. So Josh Morby, excited for him at number 11. Number 14, Will Jordan, with number 15, Damian McKenzie. As I've said before, those two building a bit of a combination at the back, in the backfield. They can kind of switch between positions where Damian McKenzie can take first receiver. He can play a bit further out wide. Will Jordan likes to work off his wing really well, slots into the line as a kind of extra center or into that fullback position where Damian McKenzie can play first or second receiver as well. So a lot of different options there. And I think this entire backline for the All Blacks, a lot of these guys can play different positions. A lot of these guys have a very high work rate. So I think the backline battle is going to be very interesting this week because both backlines with some very high work rate players. So it's going to be very interesting. But I do like the look of this All Black starting lineup. But going onto the bench, already I see number 16 and number 17, and I'm very happy for the selections there. Asafo Amua at number 16, Xavier Numia at number 17, Fletcher Newell at number 18, Anton Segner number 19, Peter Laka number 20, Cortez Ratama number 21, Anton Leonard Brown 22, and Caleb Clark 23. This feels like the strongest 23 so far being selected by Dave Rennie. This is a very strong 23, and that bench, Amua, Numia, Newell, those guys are going to come from the bench and look to make a massive impact. Xavier Numia was awesome in his debut. He was incredible in Super Rugby. Asafo Amua, I've said this so many times before, give him a little bit more game time and he could be World Player of the Year. He has the potential to be a World Player of the Year or even one of those guys being nominated. So I really do like that selection. Of course, Anton Leonard Brown, he's got the experience from the bench as well. Caleb Clark, he will bring that experience as well if need be. And of course, Cortez Ratama, maybe a guy with a question mark over his head, but he's not a bad player. He's just not like a Cam Roy god, so I don't expect him to play too much. Anton Segner with an absolutely brilliant debut last week. That second half performance from him and Josh Morby definitely got them into the team this week. And of course, Peter Laka, this guy is such a good player. Surprised he's not starting, but I do get the reasons why. But he's a guy who'll come from the bench, add a lot of work rate, add a big impact, and he's got some good hands and a good skill set as well. So a really solid team selected there for the All Blacks. But now let's go look at the Ireland team selected, and it is extremely strong as well. The front row there, Tom O'Toole, Dan Sheehan at captain at number 2, number 3, Tide Furlong, number 4, Joe McCarthy, number 5, James Ryan, number 6, Tide Byrne back in the starting lineup for the full strength team. That is a big boost for this Ireland team. He was definitely covered with the selection from the All Blacks as well. The All Blacks knew they need more locks there. Tupovai can play kind of a hybrid between lock and loose forward. They need to get better at the lineouts because they've got Tide Byrne, Joe McCarthy, James Ryan, and Jack Conan, who are all very good lineout jumpers there. Of course, Tide Byrne, number 6, 7, Josh van der Vlier, a really solid player. You don't want that guy to break the line. And I think it would be a very interesting battle or a foot race if Ardie Savia and Josh van der Vlier had to chase each other down. That would be very interesting. Number 8, Jack Conan, one of the most underrated forwards in the world. Good to see him there. Number 9 and number 10, Jameson Gibson Park, number 9, and Sam Prendergast, number 10. Sticking with Sam Prendergast, this shows he is the 10 right now. He is the guy Ireland wants there. They know he's on the best form possible right now, so keep playing him there. A poor first half against the Wallabies, a much better kind of second or final quarter of the second half there, a much better kind of end to the game for Sam Prendergast. Can he pull through with that form, with that momentum from the end of the game? Jameson Gibson Park versus Cam Roygard, probably the two best number 9s in the world right now, it has to be said. Antoine Dupont's not playing right now, so I'm not even going to consider him. Gibson Park, incredible every single time he plays for Ireland. When he retires, they're going to have to find someone special there, or at least give a guy like a Nathan Doak a chance, because Jameson Gibson Park is incredible. Cam Roigard is the future of the number 9 position, one of the best number 9s in the world, and currently playing like a guy that could challenge Louis Bilberry for World Player of the Year. So it's getting very interesting there already with the scrum off battle. The wings there, Jimmy O'Brien and Robert Balakoon. I'd say Jimmy O'Brien probably wouldn't be there if there were other guys available like a Mac Hansen, but he's a solid player. He will get the job done there. So number 11, Jimmy O'Brien. Number 14, Robert Balakoon. Robert Balakoon versus Josh Morby is going to be a very interesting battle. I think this is going to be a really fun battle to watch. Robert Balakoon kind of been plagued by injuries recently, not had a kind of consistent run of matches where he's kind of got some good game time. But if this guy comes and it clicks for him on the day and he plays a good game, watch out All Blacks, because this guy is so fast, he's incredible, he's got a very high work rate, and he can change the game for Ireland. Then looking at the centres there, Stuart McCloskey and Gary Ringrose. Stuart McCloskey, one of the best international players in the year, in the world this year. He definitely will be one of those guys that probably will be in the considerations for being nominated for World Player of the Year. Gary Ringrose, not at his best recently, but not bad either, building a good combination with McCloskey. And of course, number 15, Hugo Keenan. So, no Jamie Osborne on the wing this week. They're going for an out-and-out winger in Jimmy O'Brien, and Hugo Keenan keeps the 15 jersey because he has been in some scintillating form. Looking at the bench, Ronan Kelleher, Jeremy Loughman and Thomas Clarkson make up the bench front row. Interesting selection there. I wouldn't really have chosen Loughman right now. Maybe they do see something that I don't. He was knocked out a few weeks ago. So for me personally, I've suffered concussions before. I know 2 weeks after a big concussion like that, you're still not 100% there. It might be a bit of a confidence booster to try to put him there, but it might also completely derail his confidence if he plays this game and has a bad performance. So maybe Jeremy Loughman is the one kind of selection where I'm like, maybe Andy Farrell got it wrong there, but we will only find out on the day. Ronan Kelleher with so much experience, and Thomas Clarkson in some really good form recently. Of course, Tom O'Toole and Tide Furlong and Dan Sheehan really trying to set the tone for the starting lineup in the front row. Then we have Nick Timoney and Sean Janssen there to kind of finish off the forward pack for Ireland. They don't need extra locks. They've got guys that can move to lock. They've got Tide Burn, and I fully expect either Joe McCarthy or James Ryan to go off the field, Tide Burn to move into the lock position, and maybe a guy like Josh van der Fleer to come off, because Sean Janssen and Nick Timoney, I was saying this last week, these two guys can add such an impact from the bench. Both play a similar style of rugby, both are workhorses, both are good ball carriers, and I think those two guys right there could be the difference makers in the second half. But that is a really solid selection there, and it's good to see that guys are getting rewarded for their kind of good form and good play from Ireland as well. Then of course Craig Casey 21, Kieran Frawley 22, and Bundi Aki 23. Once again, no Nathan Doak. I thought we'd see Nathan Doak, but it's not happening. It's Craig Casey. We know what we expect from him, a solid kind of way to end the game, but I just think Nathan Doak could come off the bench and add something different, add something special, and maybe you'd take off a guy like Jamison Gibson-Park and know, okay, now you've got a guy that can actually go and do something special. But you got to give Craig Casey his flowers for that. I mean, he's been good over the last few years. He's been really good. He's experienced, but just not a game changer. But hopefully that can change for the Irish fans this game. Kieran Frawley, number 22. I almost thought his position was going to be in jeopardy after his performance last week, but there was a lot of factors that played into that with regards to the players not being that kind of up to speed with each other, a whole different team as well. He can play 10, he can play center, he can play 15, so it just makes sense. And of course, number 23, Bundi Aki. If Stuart McCloskey was to get injured, hopefully not for him and Ireland, you have a guy there that's a world-class player and played against these guys on many occasions. So a really strong lineup for Ireland. I can't wait for this game. I really cannot wait for this game. I think, honestly, where the big matchups are going to be in this game, I think Tide 5, obviously the Tide 5 battle, every single game is going to be tough, but whoever gets the better of each other at scrum and line-out time, I think will have a chokehold of the game. And of course, that 9-10 battle, Gibson-Park and Sam Prendergast, so versus Ruben Love and Cam Roigard. Two experienced scrum halves, two inexperienced fly halves. I think whichever fly half really does play the best between Prendergast and Ruben Love is really where the difference can be made. And of course, for me, a very big one there. We have Stuart McCloskey and Gary Ringrose against Geordie Barrett and Quinn Tupaia. That is going to be a huge battle in the centres. And I think that's the kind of key theme for this game for me. Every single position, every single person on the team, every single player, every single unit, the forward pack, backline, and bench as well. It's going to be an absolute battle. Every single person they're matching up against is nearly their level or just at about the same level. I mean, we have Dan Sheehan versus Cody Taylor, Ronan Kelleher versus Safwa Moore. We have Jamison Gibson-Park versus Cam Roigard, Sam Prendergast versus Ruben Love, Stuart McCloskey versus Geordie Barrett, Ringrose versus Quinn Tupaia. We have Robert Balakoon versus Morby, Hugo Keenan versus Damien McKenzie. It's going to be absolutely incredible, this entire entire game. And then we have Tide Burn versus Tupou Vai, an up-and-coming guy who plays a similar style of rugby to kind of Tide Burn as well. Then on the bench, Peter Lakai, Anton Segner versus a Sean Janssen and a Nick Timoney as well. This game's going to go down to the wire. It's going to go down to the 80th minute. But who do I think is going to win this game? This is going to be a tough selection for me here. I think I'm going to go with the All Blacks to win this game. I just think they are playing at Eden Park. They've never in their history ever lost a game at Eden Park. So that does go to their side as well, the whole record there. They do protect Eden Park like it's a sacred place for them to play rugby. But that being said, I will not be surprised if Ireland wins this game. Like, I really am 50-50 about this because I see the bench from Ireland and I think it's a much stronger bench than the All Blacks have to offer, especially kind of from the front row back. I think the whole front row for the All Blacks there will be fine from the bench, but I think guys like Nick Timoney, Sean Janssen, Frawley and Aki can really make a big impact off the bench. But I think maybe this game will go down to the 80th minute. I won't be surprised if Ireland wins. But I just think the All Blacks are playing some really good running rugby right now. And I think it just takes one little moment where the All Blacks just click. And then Ireland can't come back from that. Because Ireland have been okay this tour, it has to be said. I think based on recent form, if Ireland starts and plays the way they did in the last two games, the All Blacks will teach them a lesson and really build that scoreboard early on. And it's not easy in New Zealand at Eden Park at all to try and make a comeback. We saw the Springboks try to do it. They couldn't do it. I don't think anybody can do it if the All Blacks do get a lead. And the one thing with the All Blacks, they start incredibly quick. So I think for Ireland, the key part for their game, do not allow the All Blacks to score a lot of points early. In fact, they need to try to score points early because the All Blacks will be in the game for 80 minutes. And for Ireland as well, try play an 80-minute performance. And for the All Blacks, try capitalize every single time they get an opportunity because they've been very good with that. But if they can do it for 80 minutes instead of doing it periodically or kind of scattered throughout the game, they will win this game. So I think it's going to be an awesome game. I'm not going to say what I think the score is going to be. I think it's going to be an extremely close game. I think there are those key battles of Prendergast versus Ruben Love, Jameson Gibson Park versus Cam Roygaard, the tight five, the whole forward pack, the bench as well. I think it's going to be key. So let me know your predictions down below. I think this is going to be the game of the Nations Championship. I cannot wait for it. I think All Blacks to win, but I think Ireland might make a late push in the second half with that bench. But let me know your predictions down below. Let me know which players you're the most excited to see. Thank you so much for all the support, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.